When did you change that? My clock is different. You're 6? There, just changed. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and call the meeting to order. If I could ask everybody to please stand for the pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Chris Buckman.
Here.
Brandon Earl.
Here.
Andrea Kreifels.
Here.
Jason Newberry.
Here.
Deanna Garver.
Here.
Tom Henning. Pat Zika.
Next thing is the adoption of the agenda.
I make a motion to amend the consent agenda to remove the district handbooks 7.1.18 and add handbooks to discussion items 2.9.
Okay, got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same. You catch that, Russ?
Got it.
Thank you, sir. Okay, recognition of patrons and staff. Adam, will anybody sign up to talk?
Not this evening.
All right. Moving on. First discussion item. Wellington Radio Station.
Yes, the year outs are here, Murphin Media, opening the radio station back up here in the community, and wanted to visit with the board this evening.
Okay, we've got some handouts here that will show you the different radio stations. But this is my son Matt, and he handled most of our outside territory. I'm Mark, and I graduated from Wellington High School in 1969, so I just aged myself.
Stations that we.
And we, on May 12th, formed a new company.
No, I made a bunch.
Called Murphin Media, owned by Murphin Incorporated out of Wichita. We formed it to buy some stations in Wichita, Winfield, and Wellington. And then we had 2 other groups of radio stations, which we call My Town Media, and we call the other one Western Kansas Broadcast Center. Combined, we have 41 radio stations now across the state, with headquarters really in Wichita, Pittsburgh, Emporia, Hayes, Garden City, Dodge City. We do about 14 high schools across the state. We do 3 community colleges, Pittsburgh State University. We also carry KU, K-State, and all that kind of stuff. It was on my agenda that we pick up Wellington, because I remember the old days when they would broadcast all the sports, and then Saturday morning, they'd rebroadcast it. So if we were playing, we could tune in on Saturday morning and listen to when our name was called. I always thought that was a pretty good thrill way back then. The Millers were not good stewards. They didn't take care of things. That's why we bought these out of bankruptcy. We're looking at 10 more that they have in bankruptcy. The key is I want to bring, and we do this in all the towns we're in, we try to anchor the radio stations with the high schools. And it is, we have quite a pattern and quite a level of success. Out in western Kansas with 6 different high schools, we have over 250 clients involved. So it's not like we are doing this for the first time. We've been doing it a long time. And I think, like Wellington, we were broadcasting KLEY out of our new Wichita studios. And it will maintain being broadcast out of Wichita, but we have all kinds of opportunities for local programming. Luckily, the hardest thing that I have is to find play-by-play people for these high schools. Well, we have, and excuse me because I'm just getting, we have Shane Farley and Ryan Jenkins. All right, Shane has owned radio stations. Matt, my son, knows Shane from previous years. And Ryan, I heard about him before I met him. And they said some guy down there in Wellington is on the stream, the internet stream and video, and said he's really good at basketball. So I finally met Ryan last week, and between Ryan and Shane, we can handle the football, we can handle the girls and boys basketball, and then depending upon their availability, we'll handle other high school sports on a basis of if we have an announcer, then we can do that, whether that's volleyball, whether it's softball, whether it's baseball, whether it's wrestling, any of that. But we just can't depend on it until we get with them, and we told them we had to meet with y'all. And then we'll get with them to see their schedules and what goes on. Shane has even mentioned doing a morning show. So there is a FM translator connected to KLEY AM. It has never been turned on. We have the paperwork to turn it on. So there could be a possibility of having both an AM and FM carry your sports. Now, when we met with Ryan, we found out he has quite a streaming operation going on. He said the biggest successes they've had are when the girls made the state basketball championships for the last 2 years. We talked, and we're gonna incorporate that streaming, the video and the audio, into our radio package, and we do that in several locations. And it works out very well. He has a little fundraiser going. I think he said he had 10 clients.
20.
We want 20.
He said he had 20.
He broke that. So this is a Mark and Matt radio show here that we've got going. But we'll maintain his fundraising through our sales, and then we'll try and increase it by doing some fundraisers for the school, because he has to raise money for his radio program and TV programs at the school. So we want to keep that going, and if anything we can do to help, we will. Our entire goal when we go into a community to start up play-by-play for the high schools, is to find 20 clients that want to invest $250 a month, and they do it on an annual basis. And then and that's our goal. We'll do it with less, but that's what we'll try and do. It's not gonna break anybody, but they get spots during the week and spots in the play-by-play broadcast. So we've got it down pretty well. Matt will be handling this area. I'm the CEO over all of it, which be careful what you wish for sometimes. Today was a busy day for nothing but finding things to repair. It's crazy. Yeah. But the facility we're gonna work on, it is in horrible shape. We're getting it mowed, we're getting some trees removed. I've got a young man that's gonna bale the hay that's around it. But none of this gets started till we get y'all's approval for doing your high school sports play-by-play broadcast. And that's why we're here. We presented last week, and they said, then I called and they said, okay, you get to come to the board meeting. I said, okay, we can do that. Yep. Matt, did you hand it out already?
I didn't have quite enough, so you'll kind of have to share it, just a list of all the stations that we have throughout Kansas.
Yeah, but we right now are the largest family-owned, because Murphins are a family-owned company, but the largest radio group in Kansas. And we're getting phone calls to add some more. But I personally take interest in getting Wellington sports back on the radio, as it is the basis of the communities. And it really helps, and it will dive itself into other things. We're talking about the high schoolers having a little program of their own. It all depends upon what we can handle and what people want will be the key factor as to what we do. Do you have anything? Did I get it covered?
I think you got it.
So what's the actual ask of us? You're just wanting
I just want
permission to?
permission, because we can't advance until we have permission. We can do a contract, which we have some, other ones we do on a handshake. It's all literally up to you all. Yeah. Yes.
So you're talking just over a radio?
Like, I mean, and which shouldn't or wouldn't affect, like Ryan does a great job with the NFHS.
It's all
You
gonna be
see
the,
it?
it's all gonna stay the same. Everything
So-
Ryan does, radio will just be an extra added
Yeah.
feature to what Ryan already does. And we'll have the same play-by-play on both.
So if Ryan's one of your people, what he's saying through
Yeah.
NFHS, which
Because Ryan, as a football coach, says he's a lot better at basketball than he is at football. And, you know, at that point, Shane will be taking over play-by-play for football, and then they'll both share basketball. There's another young man, I forget his name, that helps Ryan a lot. And we're looking at him as he could help with the video streaming, and he could help, and he's learning those kind of things.
So that was my next question, is the kids have really kind of taken a lot of ownership of this, and they're very involved with this, and Ryan's helped kind of get that going. I don't want to lose that piece of it.
I wouldn't,
I want the kids to
Yeah.
remain involved,
yeah,
to whatever level they wish to remain involved, so.
because it can have, we're talking already about a daily high school sports update, you know, and if we wanted a daily high school what's going on report, all of those are very available. We have the equipment that can do them from right here.
Doing from right here, so are you talking at the high school, are you talking at the middle school? Cause right now, there's a little bit of both of that going on.
That, I'm talking high schools right now. I don't know what they've done with the middle schools. I don't know. I just have to find out from Ryan.
it's the Crusader radio that we do, just, it's over the computer.
Yeah, it's streaming.
So.
Yeah.
Over the radio, so I always miss it because I don't think about it.
So I envision
Radio.
this as basically kind of like a press box podium where there's just gonna be another mic that's gonna be your guys' feed. Is that similar to what we're
Yeah.
talking about?
Mm-hmm. You see, we have the equipment, they will be feeding the signal. It will go up to what we call our new studios and be fed back down to the antennas and to the transmitters here and on the air, but you'll hear the same play-by-play on the stream, and you'll hear the same as you'll hear on KLEY.
This doesn't cost anything?
Nope, you can help us find sponsors. Find sponsors. That's
So
you know.
you kind of alluded to this a little bit, but kind of a little bit of the synergy between you guys and the school. Because right now, they're counting on those sponsors. But then if you guys end up taking those sponsors for $250 a month, then are they gonna lose the sponsors
We've
and
already
they don't have the funding?
guaranteed that he'll get his sponsors he's got on now. And then we're gonna try and add to that. So. We've had really good meetings so far. We've got that Subner News Cow, is that what it is?
Yep.
Yeah. A lot of response after that info was in there. Yeah. But we try and do the partnerships. We just did a new one in Pratt, basically the same thing. We took their streaming and their video, audio, and coaches shows and all this and teamed it up with our radio, and we sell it, it's a combo. And I don't like the idea of coming in and we would sell against the high school or the high school would sell against us. That doesn't make any sense in my world.
I like the idea because a lot of times you can't get NFHS or you can't, so it's nice to be able to turn on, it would be nice to turn on the radio, and there's elderly people that would like to listen, but don't know how to. I personally like the idea.
Because we talked when, in Pratt as a fine example they talked about, they just were gonna do it with streaming and video, audio and video. But there's so many people that for so many years have turned on the radio station to get the actual play-by-play. They're not watching it on an app on the phone, they're not taking their computer. And so it's really hard to envision and letting an entire community understand, well, we're not on the radio, but we're gonna be on a stream, and you're gonna be able to find us on an app, and blah, 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 blah. That is what we're trying to avoid. In most of our markets, the high schools stream themselves. They sell ads in the streaming, and they use our play-by-play for their broadcast, which is fine. You know, it, whatever works is what we usually go with. Yeah. But no, I would not want to leave them out.
Okay, any other questions? It's just a discussion item, so we don't really need to take action on it tonight, correct?
Correct.
But now's the time to pose the question.
Would it help if you knew sooner? The sooner you know, the better you can start.
Exactly, yeah.
I guess my biggest concern is I want to make sure the kids don't get left out of the loop. I mean, I know.
I think they would be heard better because all of their streaming things would be heard more.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, I'd listen to streaming music on the way to the meeting tonight. I mean, that's kind of the new,
Okay, how do you
this
do
new
that?
way
How do
of
you do
listening to
that?
music.
How do you
I
do
don't,
that?
I don't know when the last time it was that I listened to a radio station.
How do you do that? I don't know how you listen to that in your car.
So
How do you do that? I don't know. I mean, how do you listen to streaming
it's
in
easy.
your car?
Just subscribe to a streaming service and it just goes straight to your radio in your car.
To help answer, I had asked that same question about 6 months ago.
Yeah, I didn't have
And they
no
said,
idea.
well, if you don't have music on your phone, you're not gonna stream music. And so I had to put Spotify on my
Yep.
phone. Yeah. And then like magic, it worked.
They said they told me later.
So that's just my biggest concern is I want to make sure the kids stay involved in it.
And like I said, there's two options here. If you want a contract in front of you that you can look at some verbiage, then we can pull that off. And then also, one of the things that I know that you guys mentioned that was important to us is you're interested in student internships being part of our internship program, so that's good.
I end up hiring young graduates out of Indiana and Illinois and all of these places because we're not doing a good enough job in Kansas with our universities and our community colleges, even in our high schools, to get everybody wants to be on the air. Well, those are fewer and fewer and fewer as the technology advances. We look for play-by-play. I hire somebody from Indiana, just did for Garden City, and he stayed a year. He had a girlfriend. As soon as the sports season ended, he moved back and they're getting married and he's not staying in Garden City. Well, that reflects bad on us as a company when they come in for 1 year, meet the communities, they're your play-by-play people, and then they leave. So we're trying so hard to hire local people. And within that, these schools are getting a lot better with, radio, TV programs, all of that kind of stuff.
So on your play-by-play, would you involve the students also?
It's what?
On the play-by-play for like the football games and basketball games, would the students be involved in that also?
They
Or is that
will,
just Shane
they
and-
have been as helpers, they won't be as involved in the play-by-play.
Because right now they're calling games.
Yeah, and
High
that
school, middle school,
won't
they're not
have,
calling high school games, are they?
We'll be
Yeah,
using-
they are some of the football games. They're
Yeah, the
doing a
middle
little bit of
school games? The middle school or high school games?
that. I believe both. I'm not sure. I
I
know
know they are
Easton was
some
doing
in
it in
middle
middle
school.
school. I don't know. I know Hudson was doing some of it. I think he was doing quite a bit of it.
they may get involved in what we call the color, which play-by-play will be handled by Shane and by Ryan. And they have the experience, we want a broadcast that we can all be proud of. And then the younger ones usually come in as color and they learn. They sit right there with them, they help them hook it up, they do all that stuff. And that's how they learn to do it. Nobody's born a play-by-play, I guess even Mitch Holthus, who started in Pratt, he had to learn how to do it before he became the voice of the Chiefs, as they say.
And more people could listen to games or get the games because there's no cost. I mean, a lot of people, don't watch the NFHS because there's a cost to it. Not if we watch it through Wellington, but lots of places do charge so much a month to listen to or watch.
Because the National Service for Streaming, and I was on the Kansas Association of Broadcasters Board, when they denied the right to the high schools to have the high school come in it started with the state wrestling championships. That wasn't right. They followed them all year long, and then they get to the state tournament, and they tell the local high school people that are doing the play-by-play all year long that you can't do that here, doing the streaming. Well, the legislator this year fixed that. So they can't do that. They can't make it exclusive anymore.
What's anybody else think?
I like the idea, but I'm with him, I kinda want the kids involved as much as possible also.
I'm fine with it. I think, the more information out there, the better, and the more people that have availability to it. Again, I want the kids to be the focus of.
Could give kids an outlet too, because right now they're not,
Well, but if the kids aren't involved with it, it's not an outlet.
well, I think they're saying that they would be or they'll use them.
Setting up the equipment's a little bit different than calling a game, in my mind.
I don't, is that what they said they would do?
I hear there's pretty big, kids have a pretty big ag program over at the school too. So we have plans, we're gonna start a lot of ag reports over here, and I think that'll be a great way, not only sports, we get the kids involved in some other things we're doing on the radio too.
The more they want to, and then have the skills to, or the ability to learn it, the more they'll be involved. So,
And you said you're gonna do an internship, right?
Ah.
Which is gonna help with the kids getting more involved. And like they said, there's more than just sports that they're gonna be doing on the radio
eventually-
station.
Eventually, the plans for this station is to have somebody there all day long.
Yeah.
So having kids over there doing different things, seeing different stuff of what we're doing, that's absolutely part of the plan.
But as long as you get the kids in, at least on the sports, to do color, and then they can learn from
That's
Ryan
it.
and Shane, that would be it.
yeah,
I would
let's
be
say
for that.
Ryan and Shane both have the flu on the same day, and we've got boys and girls basketball. One of the color people's gonna get to step up
And do the play by
And do the
play.
and be the
play-by-play.
play-by-play.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we've had it happen. They get pretty nervous, but
Yeah, I know Ryan said basketball, he said Rogan and Keaton and
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
so.
As long
That's not what you're
As
talking
long as
about.
we keep them in the loop, I'm
Yeah.
for it.
and we've made quite a few engineering changes to keep this AM on the air. And quite a bit of an investment out of the studios in Wichita, and then we'll also, the translator has never even been turned on. It's 100.3 on the dial. It's never been turned on.
So you said earlier you're gonna be broadcasting from Wichita right now, right? Or that's gonna remain that way, right?
Signal will come through our automation boards in Wichita down to, and then fed up the transmitter and then fed up on the tower.
So there'll be somebody actually in a booth down here.
Once we get it livable again, there's
Sure.
been interest for a morning show.
Sure.
There's interest in it. I want for sure to have some daily, I'd like to have some daily high school wrap up, which would get the kids involved big time on that one. And they actually have broadcasters just like we do, so their equipment is top notch as far as feeding it in. Because we also want the quality that people aren't going to, they're gonna be happy to hear it again. And the quality will be worthwhile.
Like I said, I'm for it.
Do we
I
need to
guess-
make a motion on it?
I personally would like to see a
Yeah, I
little
would
bit of
like to be
verbiage
invited to that.
as far as what this is gonna look like.
That's fine.
We can do
I
that.
think we're going the right direction.
So you do want a motion tonight or no?
No, let's get the contract.
Get a contract for
basically,
next month.
Which
Yeah,
I
think
agree
we're
with.
We can do that.
Yeah, I'll just bring you examples, it's pretty,
Okay.
you know, it's usually a 1-2 page type thing.
All right.
Okay?
Everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
Any other
Yes, sir.
thoughts? Okay, thanks guys.
All
All right,
Appreciate
you
it.
Thank you.
guys,
Thanks.
thank
So
you all.
far, you guys have any questions
Okay,
before
awesome.
anything?
Russ, did you get a copy of this?
I got one.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right,
Appreciate it. Thank you.
you bet.
Thanks for coming.
Yep,
All right.
I'll get that to
Thank
you.
you.
Okay,
Matter of fact, I'm gonna drop it
Yep.
off in the morning when I'm headed over to that.
okay, sounds good. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
Okay, next thing we have is KDHE grant purchases.
Yes. Okay, last month, we discussed these grant purchases. The board requested that we come back with additional ideas and information. And so we reached out to the grant providers for additional ideas. One of the things that they came up with was some audiometers, which is what I'll let Holly, you want to explain how you use audiometers on your daily job real quick?
So the audiometers are just what we use to do our hearing screens throughout the district. We have one at each building, which are actually getting old and needing replaced anyways. So Darcy, did you give them a copy of that or? Yeah. Okay. So I just reached out to the person that we deal with who does our calibrations every year and got a list of prices for those, and that's the one they recommend. It's just kind of the newer version of what we already have. One of them is just the basic version. The one that's a little higher priced is one that you can keep all the information in. So if we want to print it off later, we can do that. It just goes through and that's what we use. We do it for our screenings and then we can do it daily too whenever we need to check anybody. So
That was one of the ideas that they came up with, and so we did add that to the grant. We were unaware of that before this, so that was a good change. And then also beyond that, we've kind of exhausted the extent of the grant beyond the air quality monitors that we discussed last month that the KDHE specifically put down for districts to get, and then also the air purifiers. You had asked for additional information on that, which we did put in your packet. And so I think we're kind of at a standstill as far as whether we want to put those in schools and use that grant money to take care of that, or if we choose not to do that, then the money would go back to the grant at this point. But happy the audiometer piece came up. And we had, as far as the other board questions about what happened after 5 years, I believe the filter piece was in there, and then also for the air quality monitors, the additional cost that if we continue to use the system after 5 years should have been in the packet as well. So tried to get you as much information as we could on that to make that move forward. So
Maybe you answered this, but where were the humidifiers be placed?
the purifiers,
Purifiers?
there were multiple sizes. So there would be smaller ones in each nurse's office and each main office for heavy traffic, and then some larger ones in bigger areas throughout the schools for heavy traffic. It's mainly set up to be in heavy traffic areas throughout the schools. I know Kelly has that all lined out. It's on a page.
I just don't like that they're hanging out in the hallways. But that's the only downfall, I think. They're on rollers and rolling around, just kind of looks tacky. I think, but
That's kind
I think it's gonna be messed with a little bit more than.
I see the high schoolers or the middle schoolers, elementary I don't think will, but just another piece of equipment that's added to the hallway, it kind of just looks.
I understand what you're saying.
I don't know, is the hallway isn't a place that we plan to
Or
put it.
the
Well, the
bigger-
commons are a little bigger, yeah. Some of the bigger areas,
Okay.
just out in public areas.
of being really stupid tonight. What do they do? I think I know, but I'm just like,
So it
Having
has
it
like a,
having them in just a few places, I'm just kind of wondering,
it's more like an intake, so it'll take in like the dirty air essentially, kind of purify it and then have the dirty air, have the clean air come out. So that's what the filters are that you're like having to replace and stuff. So once that air comes in, the filters filter out the germs and things like that, and then it'll have the clean air come out. So it just helps. And that's why when he talks about, like the more consolidated areas, especially the nurse's office, or like a lot of times the regular offices where our kids will go through before they come to the nurse's office, or sometimes wait to be picked up when they're sick and different things like that. Those are key areas to have those in just because they're smaller areas and these kids are sitting waiting when they're sick, or several of them. So those are better areas to have them in.
during COVID, did people buy them for classrooms, was that, is there a way?
I'm sure some districts did. I don't have that
Yeah,
specific. but-
Some places did. and
Yeah,
some
so can you build one of those into your system, I guess is what I'm asking, so that there's purified air? I'm not asking, I'm just
Yeah.
asking a question for myself.
Are you talking about like filters within the system or?
No, the things you're talking about, that
In the return
it'll
air.
it'll purify the air in the office and in the nurse's room and in several places. I just,
Are we able to separate out, or we do something for the nurse's office and the offices and not do the larger ones? Sure.
Are they like-
What you want to do?
dehumidifiers, going there,
Yes and no.
purifiers,
I mean, they purify the air versus taking the humidity out.
yeah.
On this grant, do we have to do everything, the air quality and the alma maters, or can we?
You can take and pick whatever you want.
We don't have
The rest
to.
of the stuff, the money would go back to the grant people.
Then money would go
Yep.
back.
The air quality monitoring system is something the state came up with,
Right.
that's not something that the district came up with. But the purifiers were something we thought would be good, but I understand Brandon's point too, as far as how it would look, so.
Just the expense after 5 years is quite a bit.
And you say the money goes back, I mean, are we up against the time frame
Yeah,
deadline?
that's
as far as the
why
money
we
coming
put it
back?
on last month and this month, cause it's by the end of July, we have to have the
Or July?
purchases.
What are some
Yeah,
other
this month.
things you thought about?
Well, we reached back out to them, that's why, after this last board meeting, and the audiometers was the only other thing that we had not exhausted within the grant that we had talked about with them. That's why we brought it back in this form with the audiometers, added.
So all three are paid for by the grant.
Correct.
Fully, like zero cost to the district
Well, yeah, it's just grant.
after the 5 years.
It's the grant money.
Until we have to replace.
Until 5 years is up, and then if we were continuing to use the system, which would be a choice at that time, depending on how it would go, then yes, there would be the additional cost that it would provide.
So, something you just said there, whether we choose to use it, maybe not, a lot of federal grants are, maybe a little bit different coming through the state. You don't have any choice, you gotta keep using it, or you gotta dispose of it.
I never saw
properly.
anything on that.
It actually says you can cancel it. It is not required to continue the subscription after
Okay.
the 5-year period.
The subscription,
You're not required to do anything
Okay.
after 5 years.
cause it's rough numbers, it's like $13,000 worth of filters annually.
Well, the sensors do not have filters.
Okay.
I mean, they're in there, I mean, but they're not part of the cost in there, but then the others are, cause some of them are 6-month filters and some of them are annual filters.
Yeah, I saw the one note that you had that it was like $300 annually.
Yeah, $300 if you wanted to continue the subscription for building. Yeah, that's what the
And there's
actual,
42 of them.
no, it's only per building, so
Oh, per
$300 per
building.
building, so it's $2,100 is what it would cost us if we kept going past the 5
It
years.
says $300 per sensor per year.
It's per building. Oh, maybe it is, sorry. Yes, I guess I misread that, I'm sorry. But I could check more, I actually have the email address for Delos too, if you guys have additional questions that I can get back in a board brief to you or something.
Any other thoughts?
Yeah.
Right there, I guess it says sensor package is 10,845, so I guess my math was maybe a little off, or they don't need it for all of them. So, I guess technically it's a discussion item, correct?
Well,
But-
we're bringing additional information to you, that's why we left it up there, but it is due by the end of July, so.
Okay.
So if we don't make a decision tonight, then my recommendation would be for, well, no, we'd have to, because it's over $20,000, so yeah, you guys we'd have to get back together in a board meetings in order to make that happen, so.
Is it something we're spending just because we have it? Or can we do the audio things?
You can
You
do
can do
partial
bigger
of
part,
this if
yeah.
you choose to, yes, yes. We were expending the
Very
grant
strong
money.
with that word.
It's a great word.
How many
It's a
would you
great-
order of those?
Would
of
you
the
get one for each?
audiometers.
Yeah, for each building or
Yeah,
two?
I'm
Okay.
gonna get 6 for that. We would get one for each building.
Okay, and they're 9,000 a piece or 9,300 a piece, or is that for all of them?
I think that's for all of them.
Oh, okay.
Are you leaning towards the higher end one or the,
Honestly, I'm perfectly fine with the cheaper one. I usually, when we do our screenings, we write down the information right when we do it, so we have it with the right kid each time and make sure that that's not a problem.
But if the grant gives you the Cadillac, let's go for the Cadillac,
Well,
right?
and that's why I had him give me both prices so we could see if that was, something we needed, but it's not something
Let's go
we
for the
probably use.
Cadillac.
So it wasn't,
That
it's
makes
not
more
worth the
sense.
extra to us.
World-class.
With my luck, it would just be more to fix, and
Yeah,
there'd be
exactly.
something wrong and we have
Anytime
to
there's
fix it.
more, there's
Yes.
more.
And I'm sure these will need to work till I retire, so I'll keep the lower level.
That's gonna be a long time, so it's.
Well,
any other thoughts?
I'm okay with the audiometers and the air purifiers for like the offices. I think we're kind of leaning against the hallways and classrooms and stuff, but I'm okay for like the nurse's station and the main, the smaller ones, I guess.
But we haven't talked about like the classrooms, have we?
Well, she said the hallway, or they.
Yeah, we're doing.
We're not
high
talking about putting them,
traffic. We're talking about moving high traffic.
that's what I think that'd be beneficial.
Like
the
commons
hallway?
areas?
We're all sitting in a classroom,
Oh, so in the classroom, not commons
Yeah.
area?
but you wouldn't have enough to do that.
Some of these things aren't gonna be exactly quiet either. I mean, not that it's the exact same thing, but a dehumidifier is kind of a little bit of a roar in the background at times.
I can see it being shut off. And not turned back on.
Have you seen one of these, or
Other,
heard one of these, or
I
does
haven't
it
heard
say
of them.
like
I think
on
there's maybe a video.
description?
They may
of
have
how
a
loud
video.
they are.
Yeah, I think there is one on, at least the Dulles one, I think, if I remember right, had on their, they had a video on there.
So does anybody feel like making a motion or do we have enough direction to do that?
Well, I think we're all in agreement with the auto monitors.
Yeah.
But it's the air quality monitor system that are purifiers. So I would make a motion for us to purchase the auto monitors with the KDHE grant.
Second,
Little clarification, are we specifying which ones or, because there is a dollar amount
one of
on
the
this.
Holly ones.
At the discretion of Holly, she knows more about it.
You okay with that?
That's fine.
Okay, got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same. Any other discussion on the air quality filters, whatever this is? Air quality or air purifiers? You wanna go ahead and do
I used to
something?
remember during COVID, I thought we should be doing something like that, but now,
And I think a
it's
lot of
small
places did.
yeah, but now, not that you don't need to, air purify, but just certain areas seems,
Well, I think that's where you're seeing a grant come out, to looking to empty their warehouses.
yeah.
Probably true.
Yeah, there's a lot of extra stuff, so.
Thoughts, motions, moving on?
Moving on.
Okay. Not gonna pry it out of you, so. Ready to move on if you are.
I'm ready to move on.
Hold on, I gotta get the agenda pulled back up. Started clicking on too many things here. Yeah, I really got lost. Alright. I'm okay, thanks. Okay. The next thing we have, well, I said it was on the wrong agenda.
Oh, are we gonna let the money go back then?
Yeah, that's a good question too.
If there's nothing else, we can buy.
Yeah, like I said, we reached out and that's what we were down to.
Since you can do
We had a
ears, is
lot
there
of
anything you can
purchases.
get for testing eyes?
I can order like some wall charts and different things, but it was just a small amount, so it'll just kind of go through with some of the money that's on there for different supplies. Cause it's a small, a minute amount. Put it out there.
Can't get one of those. Computer,
So I guess we're letting the rest of it kind of go back.
Yeah.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Is this like totally different than the air purifiers for a shop? Like for industrial technology, or would it work for that? Do we have that?
You think about the ag shop or the?
Yeah.
The welding and all that, yeah.
Yeah.
There's
My
an awful big
husband was
area.
a shop teacher and that was his biggest complaint was the air quality and they finally got fence. He got this stuff the year that he hired, but I didn't know if it's the same or if it's different.
That, if you're talking about the ag building, would you need a larger,
Yeah.
you need a larger set for that larger room.
Okay.
Let's see if we can-
Thoughts? Letting her go? Okay, next item we
Well,
have.
I got a question. Could you look into that, Darcy, and then if need be, we have a special meeting to approve it, or do you wanna go there?
Just remember, I'm fine with that.
For shopping,
I don't know,
we check into it.
We'll check into it.
if it's a no, then what do you do?
I guess,
Yes.
doesn't Ryan Elder do a lot of selling it on, so this?
The ag shop and Ryan does a bunch of welding too, when you got
Yeah.
gases
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, that's not one of the ideas they gave us, but we didn't ask that specifically
Sure.
either, so maybe that's.
It is kind of a bigger space, you could kind of tuck them out of the way and maybe.
Good call, Jim.
Okay, everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Okay, so we're moving on. WHS plan of study.
Mr. Nance.
Mr. Nance.
Thank you, Holly.
Everybody? Okay, so tonight, we're here to talk about, Pat asked me to bring back to the board, what the stuff we did in CrewCon, where that would go, what that would look like. And so, we met with the BLT team, and what you have in front of you on the first sheet is the is the individual plan of study overview. This is,
I had an extra one.
oh, okay. I should
You need your cheat sheet?
Nope, I've got mine. This is an overview that will follow our students, year 9 through year 12. When we were looking at some of the other examples that was out there with the state, some of the other schools are doing, they did a lot of goal setting and looking at getting things ready for moving into either college or career. And so you can read the statement there at the top of it. It talks about why it's important, how it's flexible, the individual plan of study.
Can they be careful, the audience has one, because that's.
And so what we're looking at is we're looking at in every grade doing goal setting, and that being stationed in every class. Because what we find is that it's very good for kids to set academic goals and then to monitor their progress. And so we're looking at in every class doing that, teaching the teachers how to use the goal setting format that we have, which you have there in the back. That is one of the ones that we proposed to the BLT. And looking at those goals, working with those goals, monitoring their progress, reflecting with each other and their teacher, and looking at how they're achieving, rating themselves on how much work I put into it this week, have I done enough, have I done too little, really being reflective, which is what we're asking our teachers to do as well with that. And so working with those goals, we'll then translate that to our teachers as well. Our teachers will set goals and we will monitor those and we will look at how they're achieving that, how they're reflecting on their lesson planning, all those things. In the freshman year, you'll see that the resume and cover letter are going to be done through the English class. And so that is looking at, okay, I have all this put together. Now I'm ready when it's ready to apply. I don't have to figure out how to do it myself. We've done it. Whether I'm applying for a job or whether I'm applying to college, I have this information already. So kids will learn to write a resume and a cover letter. They will keep that in electronically, so they can update that every year. They will also, as they move forward into 10th grade, they'll look at the career research project. And then they'll update in 11th grade, they'll update that resume and cover letter again. And then in 12th grade, it kind of all really changes. We're looking at a career research, writing an essay, which is good skills to have, updating your resume, and then letters of recommendation. And writing that cover letter and having that letter of recommendation is something that, as a whole, we've kind of gotten away from. We have people apply for jobs that don't have their letter of recommendation because people don't write them and send them to them anymore. So preparing our kids for that, giving them a jump on what it looks like when you're out of school, so you have that part ready. Then you'll see there in the middle the monthly breakdown of what we're going to do. We have student-led conferences. They'll work on that information in September and October. And then as you move down, you can read that. The new part that we were doing, but not maybe effectively, is meeting with our counselor. And so the counselors, our freshman counselor and freshman junior, sophomore senior, will meet with their kids in October. So they'll have all of them met with in October, and then all of them met with again in March. They'll review with them this course planner. They'll talk with them, have conversations about what it is your lessons are telling you, your career work is telling you. We'll review our GPA, which is a big deal. We'll have those conversations with the kids, and then we'll look at how we're achieving our goals. We'll meet twice a year with them. They'll also fill in their individual plan of study, looking at here are the classes you're taking, here are the pathways that we have, and here is how you're going to get those things done. You might ask, when are we going to do this? So as a building leadership team, we've discussed we have an activity day schedule, and we've discussed having one of those a month where you break up into your groups, your grade level groups, and you do these activities. You talk with the kids about their student-led conferences, and so they'll have a time every month to do that, except for in August, because we start the 15th and it runs out pretty quick. And so those are already portioned out according to each month where that falls. They are on Mondays at the moment. That'll help the kids prepare for their student-led conferences. It'll help kids notice the importance of doing the lessons and the things that they're doing. It'll have kids look at their grades and have those meaningful conversations, get them ready to meet with their counselors. And it will also give them time to prepare for the work keys, the Apply Kansas, which is when you apply for college. And then looking at filling out college apps and career apps and where do you want to go, and really putting all that together. And then you'll have in the senior section, you see that there's an exit interviews. The BLT would like to go back to having each senior complete their portfolio and then have those exit interviews.
That's what you're talking about, the ones that we do now for just students.
Just for the small group.
In English,
Yes.
now everybody.
Yeah, we'd like to see it go back to everybody doing it and having those interview days where kids get to go through that. So if you're not going back to college, you have a chance to interview and you're ready to interview for those jobs. And if you are going to college, then you have that chance, if you're sitting through for a committee, to interview you for a scholarship. Right, but it gives you some scholarship experience as well if you're going for one of the big ones. If you want to look at the goal setting sheets now, they're on the back side of this. And looking at it, we had to put a format to it. So our theme that everybody will hear is from X to Y by when. So here's where I am, this is where I want to be, and here's the time frame I want to get there in. And then they're going to set those goals. It didn't copy very well. On the computer, those are some lighter yellow colors. So, but we look at, like in PE. So if I'm in weights, I am squatting, 150 pounds. I want to squat 200. Well, by when? And then we look at what might be an obstacle to that. What's a solution we can come up with? And then what people or resources I might need. And then the skills or habits or attitudes needed. So looking at how we get the kids to brainstorm where they want to be, what goals they have for themselves in those classes, and then looking at narrowing it down. We develop a plan of action, and then we talk about how we'll monitor our progress. how am I gonna hold myself accountable? Because that's a skill we need to teach our kids. And then why am I doing this? What's in it for me? Okay? And then the next sheet after that second one, they will formally write their goal. They'll write that out. They'll check to see that it's clearly defined, that it's measurable, talk about if it's attainable, relevant, and then time-based. Because it's important to look at how I'm achieving as I'm moving along, how I'm making the small steps purposeful. And then how do I know if I'm successful? You know, a lot of people think that if I set a goal for myself, say for example to lose 10 pounds, and I only lose 5 in the month, well then I technically failed. Well no, there's progress in that. So growth is progress towards that goal, and that can be celebrated. And so we want to teach our kids that as well. And then on the last page, it is plan, do, check, act, which it didn't copy very well for you. So I plan it, I do, I check on it, and then I act to make it work. Okay, how, you know, I'm really struggling in this class. I wanted to be here. What do I need to change to act on that? And then it's just kind of reflection and monitoring scale for them to do. And then they'll do this. We want to look at it at least once a quarter. When the whole group of teachers gets back, we'll talk about how much more often we could do it, because I think it's good for kids to set goals and have that in front of them all the time. To reference that weekly, you know. Instead of having a bell ringer that day, hey, reflect on how you're making progress. Write that down so we can track that. And then the counselors will talk with them about it, as well as our teachers. So that is what we believe will impact our career plan of study, an individual plan of study for our students, and it will, I feel like it will really change the trajectory of that, instead of just something we just have to do, to being bought in and really having a part of it, because you generate a lot of that goal setting. You look at, am I making these things? A lot of the stuff that we did as we were younger, you know, how that's changed our lives. So that is kind of that in a nutshell. That's what we're looking at with doing the things from CrewCon, where we break them down per grade level, and then checking that off, having those conversations with our counselors, and looking at, in March, planning our classes for the next year. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect.
Okay, so there were 2 other things that you do in CrewCon. Of course, now I can't think what they are. One, we didn't like it. Everybody does it now, 7 through, playing a little real game here. What is it? Zello. Are we still doing that?
Yeah, they're career lessons, and they'll be purposeful. It won't be just go in and do that. They'll go in and have to have these complete, and then have to have conversations. We break it down to smaller things within the grade level, instead of looking at all the stuff you can do in there. The smaller ones.
So when will that be done?
So those are done in those meetings. So you look at November on the freshman skills and habits. That's a Zello lesson. You look at December matchmaker and mission complete. So those are Zello lessons. Yeah.
And the IXL?
IXL's done in our classrooms at the high school. It's done in the core classes, so English, math, science, and social studies. And they have more training in the first week on how to use that successfully in their class.
Will they do it every day?
It really will be dependent on the teachers, how often they want to use it. I know that Ms. House, she taught a freshman English class, and they used it once a week, and then her final was based off of there. She could check the standards, and she could go through and monitor them as they're working, seeing where they're moving, and how they're answering the questions in real time.
Could everyone be on a different level on IXL?
Everybody is.
Yeah, so.
So the way that IXL is broken down, so for example, 7.9 is 7th grade, 9th month. And so my brother and I are very different people. He's way more accelerated in things when we were in school than I was. And so he would have been 12th grade when I was at, you know, even if I was in the 12th grade, I would have been 11th grade, 9th month, and he would already be 9th. And there's quite a few years between us. So it's very individualized. So it's a great program that we have.
So to keep up that the kids are actually doing those, the teacher will have time during the new
Looking at data,
time that we've
Mhm.
given.
so we'll bring in IXL
That'll be
data,
time.
look at all your class, let's talk about who's progressing, who's not progressing, on those grade level teams.
'Cause don't they take tests every so often?
They call it a diagnostic,
Okay,
and so you have to keep your diagnostic
so if they're
up to
not
date.
doing those,
Right, so you'll
somebody's gonna
know,
know now.
right,
Because,
and in the past, they should have known,
yeah,
but there were kids that didn't do them,
yeah,
and
but
so now
shouldn't that person have known?
they did, and that's the problem
I don't mean
that I
the
saw with
student, I mean
Crouton,
the,
teacher,
yeah, the
Yeah.
teacher should have
yeah, they knew,
gotten on
They just
me
didn't.
for not doing it.
just didn't do it, and so now
This
they are
fixes
gonna be
that.
held accountable to it, yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Explain to me again. There's some kind of day you're gonna take?
So it's an activity day schedule, so they'll get to students will still get to go to all their classes, but they'll be shortened, and there'll be
Okay.
45 minutes to work each month on these things,
Once a month or?
once a month.
So how does that work with the kids that are taking college classes?
So the kids that are taking college classes, that is always the caveat. They're still gonna be expected to do it, their counselors are gonna meet with them, and I will also meet with them to let them know, hey, we've gotta get these things done, and it will be monitored. Our number of kids taking college classes isn't huge. It's not, when you look at 150 kids in a class, it's not 100 of them taking it. So it's manageable for us as adults to monitor that and make sure that they're accomplishing these things.
Okay, so on this activity day.
Yep.
How do you break them into groups?
So all of our kids are gonna be in grade levels. And so the teachers are gonna, in their team time, are going to break them out by group, look at the data, so we don't want all of the kids who are high achieving with one person, on a cross
Yeah, you're
section,
gonna
so
kinda
kids
mix
get to all be with different people. And that group will be set up within that first week, and they'll be even, and the team will do that. So they have ownership of those kids instead of me and Audrey sitting down and saying, all right, divvy all these
So
up.
that person will then kind of be like their mentor.
Yep. Yeah, and the counselor will play a bigger role in that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that, is that teacher who you would meet with for parent-teacher conferences?
That's where student-led conferences,
So that piece of it's very similar to Crouton.
very similar.
I like it,
I think it'll be good.
yeah.
I think it shrinks it down. It's purposeful instead of saying, okay, you've got 50 minutes to get these things done, get them done. And I think it's more concise. We've definitely looked at, of the lessons, Ms. Vaughn has done great work in all of that, preparing that. We've given ourselves time the day, Thursday before, to teach the teachers, that Wednesday and Thursday. Teach them what the lesson looks like. Here's what expectations are with student-led conferences. There's a script. Go through that with everybody. Give them time to collaborate with their team on what that looks like. And then it's in place. So it's not, your experience is different from your experience, different from my experience. They're all.
But isn't that kind of what we said about Crouton too? It was supposed to be kind of the same.
It's supposed to be.
But it wasn't.
Not.
So
Right.
what's the assurance that this isn't?
So we are using that time so that, and I'm the person doing all the educating of the teachers. And so they will have that document, they're expected to use it, and we'll be monitoring to see if they use it, and then when they turn that in, we'll call and check with some of the parents randomly and see how their experience with that is, to follow up.
Yeah, I think the accountability is there. You've got
Yeah.
a trail that you can follow. That's what makes it different than crew comment.
So will you have time, will you go over this with the students as a whole altogether, or?
So our staff hasn't seen it yet, just our building leadership team. And so in that first week, we'll roll this out with our staff. And then, we will make sure that this has gone over with our kids. I can't pull the whole class in and say, look at this is what we're gonna do. But we'll make sure that they know about it, and then it'll be stored for those meetings with, after they meet, counselors will hold on to it. so that we don't lose it every year.
You
That
just
makes
gonna break it down into small groups with the students and
Mhm.
talk to them that
Yep.
way.
Teachers will also present that to them, they'll also go over it with them in their classes. So each person will be responsible for a different part of it. Because we'll go over the goal setting, everybody will do. Because we'll teach that first hour, everybody, because we'll teach that to the teachers. This is what we're gonna do, and we're gonna do that with them as well. They're gonna goal set as well, so.
What if a student needs help? Not in this, but I mean in a subject. I know you said
So-
lots of kids didn't use CrewCon for that, but
No, they didn't, it
they were
was social
supposed
time.
to, but I mean, I'm sure
So
there
there's
was some.
tutoring provide after school, till 3:35. We've also talked about, all these kids have activities and things like that. And practice doesn't start until after your contract time's over. And we've talked with Ellie about that, and she is on board with that, because it's important for students first.
I know last year, or I know there was a point where a teacher said, don't come to me. You know what I'm saying? We know the same
That teacher's no
conversation.
longer with us.
Okay, but I mean, you have to welcome kids back in
Yes.
and to give them help. If it's-
Yes, it's required of them.
Yeah.
And they know that. We'll all be on that same page this year, and
One more.
yes.
So I know they always pull OT and PT and that kind of thing out, those kids out during CrewCon.
So in talking with Sharon, Miss Hoffman, she would do that during different times within the day when she did some of those things.
So it just might be their class,
Yeah.
take that class like.
Yeah, they'll look at their schedule, they won't pull them out of the same class all the time. And they'll focus on maybe some of the electives.
Okay.
Yeah, there's not a ton of that done all the time.
That's all my questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep, and then, anybody else? Last time I was here, I was asked to, I know this isn't on the thing, but asked to redo the parking sheet. And so we have redone that, simplified it. We have to have the information on hand. And so, as you see it there are responsibilities that the parent and the student will sign, saying they've read the stuff on the student online, and then they'll just provide information for that.
So this would be like in the handbook.
This will be a form they fill out if you're driving to school,
Right.
and then it's stored in the office in a binder.
Um,
And they'll fill it out every year, there just won't be parking passes issued anymore.
Is that in the handbook?
The information about
Yeah.
filling this out.
Fill in
Yeah,
the application.
yeah,
I think that was your question.
Right, that was
Yeah.
my question.
You're talking in that, so they can have backpacks, right?
Uh-huh.
This is in my,
That's later.
Where is it?
okay, I
That's
don't know
later
who's leaving or
discussion.
what.
Yeah, no,
Hopefully not.
I stayed.
I do still, so I'm still a little bit held up on this with the way it works with college classes. I mean, it
Right.
seems like we're being a little punitive against college kids that want to take college
Well,
classes. mean,
I only
get
know
it.
of one student that will be off campus, or planning to be off campus all day in college classes. And so there
This year.
is times, this year,
This year.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
I mean, we're not just doing this rule for 1 year.
No.
So,
no, and so this year there'll be one, and we'll look at it every year. When Easton is a senior, he may be off campus all day, but there are days they don't have those classes. And so we expect them to be on campus during that time, we can pull them and go over the things with them. Okay. Cool, thank you.
thanks. Okay, the next item is strategic plan and district goals. Just kind of a refresher on that.
Yeah, so we had a planning session a couple weeks ago and went over those things, and so we put that information back in your packet along with separate ideas that individual board members came up with. We kind of listed a few things that we had taken notes on in that side piece. And then later in the meeting, we're gonna be requesting another planning session that will also have strategic plan and district goals as a part of that. So So just wanna get that information to you. Not sure there's a necessity unless the board wants to rehash all that out since we already did it, but we will have a second opportunity if that planning session's approved, to have some more in-depth conversations about that in a couple weeks. And then hopefully we can move to approval in August after another set of conversations. So, wanted to put that out there.
There's something in our packet about, it was the end of the strategic plans and goals. Is that what it was?
The planning session. So the biggest reason it's on the agenda, right, is just kind of look at the calendars and.
And to get that information to you.
Sure.
We made that extra list of things.
And that makes it available to the public too, so.
And those are things that
People that want
individual board members brought up that we wanted to get to you as a listed form, and then obviously we can add to that list in the planning session coming up.
Sure.
And that will actually put this topic in 4 board meetings altogether, so that's good. That was one of the things the board requested, is wanted us to put those out amongst multiple meetings, so.
Yeah.
Keep it out there.
Any other thoughts on that? We do need to come up with a date, so be kind of looking at your calendars as we go through the rest of the meeting, and we'll get back to that.
So these right here, these little bullet points, those are all the things that were taken away from our first planning session?
No, those are notes that we jotted down of items that individual board members brought up that were brought up for discussion. And so we wanted to start listing those so that we can put those, if the board chooses in the next planning session to, the majority of the board decides to add those to the item, then we will absolutely do so. But I just wanted to get those in front of you as a compilation of what we wrote down anyway.
Well, I know I suggested several more, several that on here.
Okay, send those to me then. Yeah, those are the notes that we wrote down. So that was definitely not intentional.
I don't think I have anything.
Any other thoughts there? Like I said, we're gonna talk about it again. We just need to come up with another date for another meeting, so. We good? Yeah. Okay, moving on. The next thing is the athletic facilities surface.
Yes, last month we started discussing the possibility of narrowing it down to a surface for future planning purposes, not necessarily to, approve spending by any case, but as we move forward with stadium renovations, possibly reaching a future goal of having the stadium either be grass or turf. The board had requested additional information, which we put in your packet, and the overall turf installation, including dirt work and everything that we put in there, the DCS had quoted you, was the $1.4 million. And then Darcy also put in your packet information on kind of fertilizer and water and what it looks like over a year's time. The one thing we don't have, which we would need to do if the board wants us to, I know we had a gentleman here a couple months ago. If we don't have numbers on, if we decide to stay grass and we wanted to do the dirt work, we would have to put that out for bids and see what that would look like to both engineer that and put that in. And so if that's something, if the board is interested in heading in that direction, then we can absolutely put that out for bids and get those quotes back to you as far as that. But if the board decided to go turf, the dirt work is included in that 1.4 million that DCS originally put that out.
Where did you get these numbers for the grass?
Darcy.
That's what we spent this last year.
You spent that much and it looked like it did?
That's what we spent. No, that's all in 9th Street. I don't have a breakout of how to break it out.
That's all in 9th Street.
That's
not
all
just
the water
football.
spent.
You gotta remember how hot it was last year, even the irrigating burnt it up. Yeah.
So it's a baseball as well, not just a football.
So is this sellers too?
No, it wouldn't be sold.
We don't pay for the water at sellers.
Well, the water is all of our 9th Street water.
We don't pay for anything at sellers? Electricity, grass, water,
Not that I'm aware.
anybody know for sure? Can we see what we do for sellers? Or do we just do it, we just get to use it for free?
The baseball field. we can ask. I mean, I don't know. The city would provide that to us. I know we help with maintenance whenever, because we use it part of the year, so.
I'm trying to think if we split part of the grass, but that is not included in that number. I think that's what we do. I think we,
I know there's a split on like the tennis courts, I'm not sure
I can't
exactly
remember
what
which
there
one.
is
I know
on
we split
cellars.
something with the
There's
city
been a
on
split on
there, on
maintenance in the
grass,
tennis
but I
courts,
don't know.
yeah.
I don't, that is not in there.
But the city pays for the water for sailors.
That,
right.
that I'm aware of. I mean, I just know that we have Ninth
I
Street.
think that's right, isn't it, Jake?
I think so, I know WRC's involved too.
Yeah, they are, with sellers,
So-
or with the baseball.
There's a
field.
lot of
There's a lot of
players.
combo
A
things.
lot of
No
moving
fun.
parts.
Yeah.
So, just getting information to you as we move forward is, do we have enough, I guess that my question would be, do we have enough board members interested in staying grass that we want to get bids on pre-dirt work to taking out the crown and going back to grass? 'Cause that's one thing we would have to send out for bids to get the information.
I look at this, it's 1.4 for turf, for whatever the lifespan is, 10 years. With the number right here, we could pay for grass for 60 years,
I did
for
the same
$1.4 million.
I did the same thing.
If it would take a bond.
Even if we went up to 35,000, I mean, even if we increase that to 35,000, that's still 40 years we're paying
Yeah,
for grass.
With the turf, you're doing the dirt work, that's.
Yeah, the
And
number that
so-
she's showing there is just
so
the
we
water
really need to
fertilizer, that's
see-
it.
What it would take to actually see
Right.
compare apples to apples.
You would have
So
to know the
I
dirt
would
work
like
and-
to see what it would cost for
Okay.
the grass.
We'll put that up.
All we're doing is, on that is just the fertilizer and the water.
To make
And the
that
grass
comparison, it would be somebody told me a number of what it would take, like every year they gotta come back and basically.
There's a
Yeah,
maintenance
There's
plan.
the maintenance, yeah, you have
So
to
what's
do-
that
Or,
maintenance
that's
plan?
not true, you can either buy a $10,000 machine to maintain it yourself, or you can do a maintenance plan with the company.
Do you know the dollar on that maintenance
I
plan?
don't know, it probably depends on the company, I'm not sure, but we do not, but we can
Cause
find out.
that would be more
Yeah.
comparable to the 23 or 30,000 or whatever.
Yeah.
As
Yeah,
far
we
as the
can find out,
maintenance.
we can
piece
find
of
out the
it.
maintenance plan. Okay, maintenance for turf.
Everything I've heard is the crown needs to be addressed regardless,
Yeah.
so. Maybe getting
Right,
those
but if you
numbers
go
wouldn't be a bad
to, if you
idea.
go to turf, you're not building
Right.
anything back, so.
Right.
Maintenance plan for turf, and then, bids for,
I'm just surprised the grass and fertilizer wasn't.
So you're gonna be spending,
more grand.
It did.
that's my only concern, if it takes a bond issue to pay for the turf right now, and then in 8 to 10 years, you're gonna need another, by then, I don't know, $1 million, $2 million, whatever, it's gonna go up. Is Wellington going, it's sad, but is Wellington gonna do that? 15, 20 years ago, my answer is yes. Now, that's my concern.
Well, I think when you redo it, that grass fertilizer amount's gonna go up, it's gonna at least double. To maintain it, what we're looking to do, cause that's pretty low.
Well, you wouldn't need grass every year.
I think it's grass seed,
I know, but you would need grass seed every year if you fertilized it and maintained it.
you don't wanna
I think
overseed it every
yeah,
year.
I think you're gonna overseed every year for that,
I
you'd have to.
I made that
And that way
mistake
you're
my
gonna
first
have
year.
to be good for now.
you'd have to.
We just haven't taken care of it the last 3 or 4, 5 years.
Sounds like we need a little bit more information.
okay, yep, we will, we'll get a maintenance, or find out maintenance plan for turf, and then, bids for the dirt work to go to grass. I'll find both of those out, I assume that also means rebuilding the sprinkler system after all that's done and everything, so we'll get bids on
I'm
that.
stupid, I thought it was well water. I think the sprinkler system, like well water.
And then,
It's true.
the other thing, I just wanna let the board know, the committee that's meeting between the city council and the board met again. And, there are 2 locker room proposals coming to them, they meet again next week. And so there's a proposal coming from DCS, and Brett came to that meeting, and then also, the local people who are interested in doing 3D printing of buildings. That's been a local conversation. They're also interested in possibly doing a showcase building, and so we're supposed to be getting some information to that committee from them here pretty soon as well. So a couple different pieces of information that may come to you here pretty soon based off of where that committee goes with that. So.
Okay, moving on, contracts.
Yes, we had contracts pulled out separately from the consent agenda on both our relationship with SCA, who is in the old Roosevelt building, and then with our contract with Futures, which I discussed last month when we were talking about goals and all that. And so just wanted to put those out to you for, this is just for this coming year. These are yearly contracts, annual contracts. They are not something that is multi-year, and so this is just for this year.
Any thoughts, discussion on that?
I'll make a motion that we go into contracts with Futures Unlimited and Sumner County Academy per what's written, sorry, lost my train of thought.
You're good.
I'll second it.
Okay, got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same.
Okay, thank you.
Legislative update.
Okay, everybody loves legislative updates. Okay, a couple weeks ago, I sent you a board brief with some of the updates. There are many, way too many to be going over in a board meeting. But I wanted to pinpoint a few that you're going to be hearing about, just so, especially from the public, just so you are aware, even though I sent it to you, it's good to talk about it too. One of the things you're going to be hearing about is students that are non-public school students being able to participate in activities. If they are a resident of the district and also enrolled in a non-public elementary or secondary school, they can pay a sports fee now, our regular sports fee, and be a part of our programs. And we're actually, Keisha has some Zoom meetings coming up with everybody, so I know Ellie will be in on those, and JJ to get additional information, but that is coming up for this year. So that is something actually that this board discussed probably a year ago, and everybody was pretty on board with it at that time. So I don't think this is a major deal for this particular board, based off of my memory of that discussion, but that is official from the legislature now. Also, the legislature has approved for local board members to be compensated for their work for the first time. That has not been a thing in the past. And so that is out there. I've already discussed heavily with you, and you're aware that we'll be coming up with a new enrollment policy for the fall of '24 based off of legislation and allowing students to move to different spots within the district or from outside the district as well. The district has traditionally allowed out-of-district students to come in anyway, regardless, especially as long as they did not have any particular issues with major behaviors or things like that. And so, so the open enrollment policy is something that we will need to work on this fall and probably have approved by December in the board meeting so that we can be ready to go for our second semester as we approach enrollment. And virtual students, Jen, any virtual students that we have will be taking the state assessment for the first time online. They've always had to come in to take that. And then another thing you may hear about, which has been a long-standing debate in education, is that they have officially labeled dyslexia as a category of disability for special education. And so So that is official, and so that will, long time coming for a lot of people on that one, so. So that will become part of the topic in special education as well. So, and then I shared that packet of everything with you, so you can dive into as much of that as you want to, but those are kind of the big topics that I think you'll hear about potentially from the community and other members throughout the year. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention, even though I know most of you have already read that, so.
Okay, any comments or thoughts on that?
If you don't live here, you can come to school here, right?
If we write, yes,
According-
we will have to write the policy still,
Yeah,
but yeah,
but, can you play sports?
if we accept them into the district, then yes.
They don't have to wait the Keisha makes them.
Well, and Keisha's gonna cover all that,
Okay.
and I don't know what the exact
That's
specific
what
rules
my
are.
question is.
Yeah, that's coming up pretty quick. I sent you that today, JJ, those Zoom meetings that are coming up, that Keisha's gonna announce all their stuff. So,
We're gonna be like Derby one of these days.
On the open enrollment policy.
Yep.
Before we dive into that, I think it's fair that we have the numbers of out-of-district students that we have. I'd like to
Okay.
see like the last couple of years, so we have something to base that on.
yeah, I'm gonna take a look on that.
Cause we'll have to cap that, won't we?
We will have to decide per class,
Okay.
per grade in each school, what our cap is.
Yeah, so if we can have those numbers that way.
Adam, do we have to transport those kids?
Yes.
We do have to transport them?
And transporting is, gosh, I'm trying to remember. Am I saying that wrong?
I thought that was only the homeless,
Yeah, homeless for sure.
It's fed for sure. I was just wondering about the others. If
I
that's-
think I'm thinking of they had taken away the transportation rules for going into another district. I think that's
I didn't know that, I didn't know
That's
that
what I'm
was-
thinking of. I'll have to recheck on that again. I don't wanna say it wrong.
Good questions. Next thing on the agenda is planning session that we talked about earlier.
Yes, we are proposing a planning session for July 24th, which is 2 weeks from tonight on Monday. We have negotiations that night for those lucky few that are on negotiations, and so we would like to start that planning session at 6:30 instead of 6 o'clock. Because we have negotiations until 6, so that will give a little time for that to clear out, start a planning session. And that will be to discuss building needs assessments, state assessment review, which are both topics that are required to be approved prior to budget. And then also, like I'd mentioned before, district goals and strategic plan, discussing that in that session, which that all should connect together good, so. So I wanted to see if that was possible. That gets Jason here from like 4 o'clock
Yeah.
to 8 o'clock. It's gonna be perfect. And Pat too. Pat's lucky.
It works for me.
Let's plan on that then. Do 6:30 on the 24th.
Okay, and our amended agenda, item 2.9 is the handbooks for all the facilities.
Yes, we, last month we tried to revise everything that the board presented to us, and so obviously we can do some more revising if needed. JJ's here, I don't have my other principals here, but I can definitely try to work through it.
I just had a few questions on the high school and then a couple on the elementary and then on the middle school.
Okay.
And JJ, I'm sure you don't have the handbook or anything in front of you, but on page 10, it talks about cell phone and you blacked out the students having them in their backpack. Can we put them, that they can put them in their backpack without getting in trouble as long as they're silenced?
I guess true.
Since they're allowed to carry their backpacks now. And then, just for clarification for me,
And the backpack thing's middle school too, right?
yeah, and
Middle school doesn't carry their.
I'm just kind of
Yeah, I
splitting
mean,
them out.
We were speaking
Oh, okay, sorry.
across the board.
So you're wanting the middle school to carry backpacks?
I thought that's what we were giving, yeah.
They have it in their handbook as that they
Yeah,
can
they do.
carry backpacks.
Okay.
They do?
I believe so.
I thought it was a no.
Yeah, that's what I saw too.
Is it no on that one?
Yeah, that's
I
what I
thought we were
saw.
talking all the way
Middle school
across when we were talking about it.
I think,
I think
well,
it's a no.
that's fine with me with the middle school on their backpack.
So could I ask a question then?
Sure.
So how come the middle school doesn't, they can't carry the backpacks, but you want the high school to be able to?
I went to middle school to
I
play
went to middle
too.
school also.
And I guess middle school, I don't have a problem with the middle school carrying backpacks.
Can they go to their locker anytime?
During class, or between
Or
classes.
yeah, between, yeah,
Classes.
there's not.
But I think you brought it up last meeting, didn't you?
I did.
Backpack.
Um,
I think that's on page 7, Adam.
On the middle school?
Backpacks for the middle school. Cause I have it written down, I was gonna ask about that.
I just have to ask a question about cell phones in the classroom. JJ. Everybody says cell phones are a pain in the classroom.
They are a problem. Yes.
Um, if I see a kid on their phone, and they're not supposed to be, I just say, come put that up on my desk. I mean, and I know teachers would hate me saying that, but
But that's what they do. They request that they put them away. And when they're out again, they ask them to put them on their desk. And if they refuse, then that causes more lost education because now we're having a kid refuse. And now they have to come to the office because they're being defined. There are a lot of teachers who manage that cell phone policy in their classroom with caddies. One of our freshman English teachers has a caddy, and she has every desk numbered. And if you're sitting at desk 1, your phone goes in number 1 caddy. So that's not an interruption during the classroom. But unfortunately, they don't all manage their classrooms the same way. So that's why it'd be best if they were left in their lockers instead of in the classroom. In my opinion,
and if there's
education.
a shooter, I mean, that's the only thing I think of.
That's exactly what I
You
think
know.
too.
Those kids in Uvalde didn't get any help, but they were calling 911. You know, I mean, I do worry about that not happening.
Okay.
And you know, the same conversation we've been talking to sometimes about, I ask a question. Someone got a really poor grade, and the response was, well, she was always on her phone. Hello, are you the, you know, who's the grown-up here? I think that could be handled, but that's why I just worry about they don't have their cell phones and there is an emergency. And the chances are, like, you know, slim and none, but the chances are there.
I agree. And this is just more for my clarification. It says students enrolled in college classes will not receive credit for attending a high school class on the days the college class is not in session. College students are expected to be in attendance at the high school the days they do not have college classes. So if they have a college class and it doesn't meet for some unknown reason, they need to be at the high school.
So the way the college classes work is they're three credit college classes meet twice a week.
Right.
And so that Friday, so if I took Comp 1 and I didn't double up, so right now the way we have it scheduled, most kids take college English and they take college algebra. And second semester they take college English 2 and elementary statistics. And so the way that the college has scheduled that is they schedule those on alternating days for us instead of on
Right.
one day all day long. So the kids who are enrolled in that, which is a majority of our college students, only have Friday off. Now, last year it was different because it was all messed up. And so what we had was kids that would come and, oh, hey, I want to be in band.
the teacher wants to give them a grade for that. And that is not something that we can give credit for because you're enrolled in a college class getting concurrent credit. We aren't gonna let a freshman take English and band at the same time and get credit for both classes in the same period. So that's why that's in there.
Okay, and then, the other one that I had was on the food and drink, and it didn't make very good sense to me the way that it's written, so I'm gonna read it here, and you can help me understand what you're trying to get at here. Okay, it says, food and drinks are not allowed in the classroom unless approved by the teacher, except for beverage containers with screw-on lids. No outside food or drink is allowed. Students are also asked to use proper food and drink storage and handling in order to help maintain school facilities. Students will discard food or drink at the teacher's discretion. So, what are you?
So outside food and drink is determined to be food from McDonald's and things like that, and that's in there because of our lunch policy, because we contract with, it's not OPA anymore, Chartwell's, and if they're bringing in McDonald's, they are not allowed to bring that in, they sit in the office and eat it, because outside food and drink is not allowed at that time.
But they could bring in a Coke and
So they bring in
Their
screw
container,
top
their
lid
beverage
containers and they do that.
okay,
Then
so
the
your
teachers-
outside food is like
Right,
any other restaurant food?
yes.
Okay, that
And
makes
so
sense.
the teachers, some teachers allow kids to have a snack in class, some teachers don't. And so that's why they wanted in there the teacher discretion,
Okay,
so.
that makes sense.
I don't know about last year, but I know the year before, OPA, you could bring in outside food, but it could not be in, like you could bring a Subway sandwich, but it had to be in a different bag.
Well, it's to the point where they have to eat it in the office now, so if you bring in Subway, they sit in the office and eat it there. Because we aren't gonna deny a kid if their parent brought them that, but we just can't compete with Chartwell's that way.
Then the other one's on dress code, and I brought this up the last time, and I thought you were gonna try to condense it down instead of just letting teachers or staff or anybody just deem clothing disruptive. I thought you were gonna kind of condense it down instead of letting whoever decide what's disruptive. I thought you were gonna go to like just the administration to go instead of saying it by teacher and staff.
So we met, and according to board policy, that is in line with that policy, right?
Yeah, it just comes down to as a distraction to the school. So you're saying that you want just a general
Well,
statement
yeah,
instead of it broken out?
instead of, disrupted to me is probably different to you. So, instead of having 100 people monitoring something they're gonna think is disruptive, condense it to maybe just the principal.
So I guess for me, if you name the administration, that means that, taken literally, that teachers can't decide that that's disruptive in their class, that they're gonna call me and make me, which I'm fine with, because I do dress code people all the time. They're gonna have me come in and determine whether that's disruptive, or have Ms. Gill come in and determine whether that's disruptive. And if I disagree with them, then that can be viewed as not supporting them. And so, to support them, I feel like they are, they all have a degree, they're all professional, and that it's not really been a huge problem. But we address it when they call us, or they send a kid to the office to take care of it, so.
Yeah, what typically happens is you have a student that a teacher or other students are reacting to whatever they're wearing or whatever, and then it becomes a
In that
distraction in that classroom. Yeah, and then it gets sent to the principal, and then
But
the
yeah, but
principal-
ultimately it'll
Right.
come to you. I guess that's
And so I support my teachers if they
Right.
say, hey, that clothing is disruptive. We have a huge clothes closet, thanks to our community, where they can change instead of having to go.
but it ultimately will come to you sooner or later, right?
Yes,
I mean-
we'll end up dealing with it, Ms. Gill and myself, yeah.
I guess that was my only concern, that we're just not, and nobody knows.
That's all I have on high school, but I do have one on elementary. Nobody else has anything on high school.
Oh, I think I do, I'm not quite sure if I isolated these. I don't know where high school is now. I don't think I have any high school. Go ahead,
Adam, since elementary's not here, I'll address it to you.
Okay.
And it dealt with what I asked before about having the parents being able to come in and eat lunch with the kids. I thought we were gonna have that in the handbook. I thought we discussed
Yeah, we
that.
took out the line that, I remember what page that was on. We had that out before last month, or that afternoon before the meeting.
Yeah, but when I was going through it, I didn't see that it was put into the handbook that they are allowed.
it'd be nice if it said parents are encouraged to with their children.
Yeah, we took a sentence out, is how I
Yeah,
remember
you
it.
took the sentence out that there was not gonna be
I know,
any
but that's
visitors
our
allowed.
call.
That's what was in the handbook
In that
before, in the
healthy
elementary
child.
handbook, that nobody was gonna be allowed into the school.
Gosh.
So
And
on
why was
page
that?
12.
I missed all that. Why were we not?
Page
learning
12 is mealtime, is that what you're looking at, Adam?
Yeah, page 12.
Okay.
that?
I think that used to say that, that parents could check students in but not come into the school and eat, and we took that out prior to the last meeting.
Are parents welcome in our schools or no?
Of course.
Okay, well, that sentence right there made it sound like you can take them out, but you can't come in.
I think it just doesn't address it at all, it just says you can take them out.
Yeah, it doesn't say
It
that
just
the
doesn't
parents
say
are
can
allowed to
come in.
come in and eat with the kids, and I'd like to see that in the handbook, that they are allowed.
Am I right, last year they were not, it got stopped somewhere along the way?
Yes,
Cause I know my son went to eat with his kids and he couldn't. It would be an unusual thing to go with somebody's.
and that's the only thing there, and then address the middle school backpacks. I don't know how you want it.
Yeah, I'll pass that on to Bob.
At one time, I don't remember, it was when my kids were young, we had something in the handbook where it said if the parent was gonna eat the school lunch, they needed to let them know by a certain time. I mean, I think we should do that.
Yeah.
So for food preparation, sure.
That's all I have.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you
Okay.
for letting me put that on the agenda, guys. I appreciate it.
Got it,
Okay,
thank you.
Thank you.
several times in handbooks it says to refer to the who's our human resource person?
Well, Darcy heads up, and Casey does part of it.
Okay, I didn't know most places.
It's pieced out, and really a lot of our principals do a lot of human resources, so. Hiring, and discipline, and all the things that usually go with the human resources department.
Okay, what's that called, human resource person, that's weird. It says also, I think it's in the sort of classified handbook, the USD 353 reserves the right to request any employee or applicant to submit to drug or alcohol testing for the purpose of pre-employment testing, random testing, post-accident testing, or reasonable suspicion testing. So we can randomly test a classified person, but not a teacher.
What page are you on? Are you in the classified
It
handbook?
doesn't
It's
have
9.
pages.
Page 9?
When you print it, there's no page on it.
Oh, okay. I thought we put numbers on it.
They are on there now.
Well, now they are. I just printed it.
That thing's actually on page 8.
Oh, is it?
And it's 9 on the PDF, the 8 on the page
Yeah,
numbers.
yeah.
CDL purposes. Is that what you're talking about?
Under drug and alcohol testing, the third paragraph starts with, in addition to testing.
Required for CDL.
CDL.
Yeah,
That's required federally.
yeah, but it also says, we reserve the right to request any employee applicant for these purposes, pre-employment, random testing, post-accident testing, and reasonable suspicions testing.
But it has that qualifier for CDL
For
purposes.
CDL purposes.
We reserve the right to do that.
But you could read it the other way, USD reserves the right to request any
In
employee.
addition, no, you could, in addition to testing required for CDL purposes. This is in addition to.
Yeah, I read it the way you read it.
Yeah, so it's not just for CDL purposes.
So just maybe some cleanup on that. Because I
Or
think
maybe
it
that's
being
what
just for
somebody
CDL,
wants.
right?
Yeah, I mean, that's what it's intending. It's intending specifically for people with a CDL,
CDL.
which we
But you
have.
see how I read it? In addition to that, we can also, that's how I read it.
Bring that up.
In it, this is what it says. In addition to testing required for CDL purposes, USD 3.3 reserves the right to request any employees or applicants to submit to drug or alcohol testing for the purpose of pre-employment testing, random testing, post-accident testing, and reasonable suspicion. So
I will clean that up.
by doing what? How will it read?
Are
I
you
can tell you
just,
right now, I'll have to sit down and hash it out, so.
I think it's intended for CDL
Yeah,
drivers.
that's the intent. So if it, I understand how you're reading it. We have very few CDL people, that mostly Durham hires those people to drive buses. So, we have very few CDL employees, that we require CDL license for them to have their position. So, but yeah, I think that was the intention. I understand how you're reading that, so we'll try to, clean that page up.
And what, if you suspect a teacher or parent or someone in the building using, smoking marijuana, what recall do you have?
Turn it over to the police. And then it depends on what happens with the situation. So,
And then, the amounts, the wages for the classified aren't exactly settled yet, I don't
no,
think.
they're not settled yet. No, we're still discussing that.
We don't wanna put those in there.
Correct.
And I think it's in the classified handbook, it says that you can change anything in the handbook without prior notice at any time. So if that happens, do we tell all the classified people?
Where's that at?
Highlight a lot of it, but I didn't all of it.
Well, there shouldn't be a statement in there because it's board approved, so we need to go back through the board.
Yeah, I mean, it basically says you can change anything at any time, but I just wanted,
Change,
but I read it, of course, I think it sounds sneaky. you know.
change language in the classified handbook, is that what you mean?
Just to make sure that the people are told, you don't make a change to keep it secret. And that's how I read it. No, I didn't really read it like that, but if you make a change and no one's made aware of it, that's what it basically says.
The policies in this handbook are to be considered guidelines. USD 353 at its option may change, delete, suspend, or discontinue any part or parts of the policies in this handbook at any time without prior notice.
What page is that on?
3.
3.
Yeah, I don't like that either.
So yeah, just if you just add, they will be made aware, made aware of the changes or something.
Well, it needs to go through the board, I mean, just plain and simple, so. Okay.
Then classified, it says they will be, the first year they'll have, 2 evaluations a year, and then after that, once a year. What about, like sponsors of things? I'm thinking like
Coaches?
Like
People like
Taliban.
that.
coaches, coaches are we have a policy for how coaches are supposed to be. I'm talking about like the pep club sponsors, cheerleading sponsors, those kind of people. It doesn't say anything about.
Yeah, we usually do that once a year. But
Because I
Yeah,
know
we
in
can have that.
instances that there wasn't any kind of evaluation or anything. And do we give people like that, I know like teachers get, like help how to do better, and you get ideas or recommendations, or you're not just, oh, sorry, I didn't meet with you all year, you're canned kind of a thing.
sure, that's part of the evaluative process
Yeah.
is to try to set goals and work towards them.
It's, that's all I can remember.
Okay, anybody else have anything else?
Did you go over the handbook with the students? Because I was told last year that previously that they'd all meet in the auditorium and kind of the high points.
That's what we did last
So
year.
you do that too, okay.
And so because the first day of school is an all kid first day of school, they'll be going over parts of that handbook in each class.
Oh, just, okay.
So the highlighted changes is usually what we hit, so.
Just, yeah, there's some stuff.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we did move it into a discussion item. Adam, time wise, you okay if we postpone this next board meeting, or do you need a,
Well,
with revisions type?
if you can approve them with revisions and we can send them out to you and show you that we revised them so that there's some accountability to it, that would be preferable.
It's up to the board. I just didn't know what type of time
So
frame
just
you
make
were.
a motion and say
With,
Kind
approve
of
the
see it
handbook
first.
with the approved revision.
that would be preferred since it's already July, so we
Yeah,
can get things
cause
up.
you'll need it pretty quick. Yeah, we're hoping to start with
You're
it
the only-
tomorrow.
Principal here, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I need it tomorrow.
But we can still send them out to you so we have accountability on our part
Okay.
to see the revisions.
Then I will make a motion that we approve the handbook with the necessary approved revisions for the 2023 school, 2023-2024 school year.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same.
No.
Okay.
Like approve something I haven't seen.
First action item is district furniture.
Yes, last month Dr. Kern presented her plan to use ESSER dollars to continue to work on school district furniture and update that from some of the old stuff we have in the district, and so that was around for discussion and now is up for action this evening. School specialty, and if obviously Jen can answer any questions, but school specialty was the low bid and the recommended bid for those furniture items that we'll present to you.
Any discussion or questions?
Does it say in here we're getting furniture for the science room and different other rooms?
There's
I don't remember
one
something about
science
that.
room, seventh grade is getting some furniture. Sixth grade only wanted stools and really only needed stools. And, the eighth grade room needs some repairs. Theirs are built-ins, that need repairs on those, but they didn't need.
Yeah, the giant tables.
Did we know what we were doing, that we were getting these? Was this discussed to get the?
Yeah, cause she got, it's a
I,
grant,
yeah,
right?
when I saw all the other ones from the eighth grade now, right? Seventh grade. we're getting
Seventh
now.
and eighth.
Oh,
We're
okay.
just gonna finish.
I just didn't know
this
there's
Finish the school.
science rooms and stuff we're getting them. Missed that.
I'll make a motion that we approve the district furniture for the middle school that's been presented for school specialty.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same. Okay. Our administrative reports, move to the top.
It's summer, so you get
Yes,
KJ.
it's been long, long and short. We have started a PD schedule for the days we're responsible for, and excited to get that started. Have almost all our positions filled, so that's stressing me out, but we'll move on from that.
What do you have open?
I have an offer out on geometry. This lady is coming back to town, McWorks. So hopefully, she's actually a principal at the moment down in Tennessee. So hopefully, she takes the geometry job. And then I'll have the second ag position that I haven't been able to fill, and a second position open. But ready for kids to come back and get our new teachers. They're in the building and working on stuff, so it's exciting.
Kelly, everything going okay? Okay. Just didn't wanna leave you out.
I see
Appreciate that.
Kennedy's fence is going up.
Kennedy fence is going up, got a post set on Friday, letting the cement cure a little bit, and they should start stretching the chain link across that, and then we'll be meeting with the facility committee here shortly about some upcoming things that we kind of have on the forefront. Eisenhower fencing will be one of the projects we'll be looking at for this upcoming school year, so that'll be coming your way most likely next month.
I want to welcome Tara officially
Yeah.
to the table, so excited to have her join the district.
Definitely. Okay, and the board member comments now moved up a little bit higher, so we get a little bit more participation on that, so.
I have
Kick it off.
nothing. I have nothing
Nothing?
tonight,
Yeah,
nothing.
Brandon?
I'm gonna follow suit, I don't have anything either.
It's summer.
It is summer. I guess I would say everybody enjoy Wheat Festival this week, and then, what else I can remember now? Yeah, must not have been too important. Next.
No.
We're buzzing around here real quick.
AASB Annual
There you go.
Convention, November 10th, Wichita. If we reserve, buy 5 tickets, get 1 free, so.
Tell me if you want to go, we will get you signed up.
Yep, good reminder, thank you. Pat,
Nope, I'm good.
I remember what it was. This is kind of a Kelly question, kind of a board question. Just kind of wanted to throw this out, or just thought, that's all it is right now. The city is doing a water line project that is going to affect Plum Street. So beware of Plum Street here in the next week or two. It's terrible timing, I know, sorry. But the follow-up on that is that street is going to be addressed. Probably not gonna be this year, probably be a year or two down the road, but we have always had issues with the parking or the drop-off area, for lack of a better term, at Eisenhower. So this might be an opportunity to maybe deal with a little bit of that. I don't even know what that looks like. I'm just throwing it out there for thoughts, so.
So that street could be blocked off.
Partially. Sorry, I'll apologize up front.
Well,
Okay.
we had the bridge now.
Yeah.
Why don't we just go ahead and do it?
Okay,
Do you
so
know-
with
do you know
that,
where- Do you know where exactly that would, that's not anything that would affect, like if we put fencing forward or anything like that, that's, we want to put something up new that we're gonna have to.
this project that's happening right now, it's gonna be just along Plum Street.
Okay, just on the street.
So, yeah,
Okay, got it.
water line project followed by a street project, so. Okay, looks like we're moving on to executive session. And, executive session for negotiations, I don't believe we need that, we just kind of penciled that in, so we can scratch that one. And,
I would make a motion that we go to executive session to discuss non-elected personnel for 20 minutes to include Adam Hatfield and his team. Regular session to resume at 8:15. Alright,
sure. How many minutes did you say?
20,
Okay,
is that 8:15?
yeah. Got a motion and a second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those
that easily.
Okay, we are back in open session, and
I would make a motion that we go back to executive session to discuss non-elected personnel for 10 minutes to include Adam Hatfield and his team.
A second.
got a motion and a second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same.
You said resume at eight,
I-
8:25.
8:25. I didn't say it, but yeah.
Yeah, but we got it, thank you.
My question is, the first thing I do is appoint the deputy clerk. Now,
You know?
if you guys could approve that right away, I could just hand it over to her.
It's either that or eat crab or prime rib. You know what you need. Right? I know how you.
You got a big drink of water and you're ready to.
Oh, boy.
Okay, we are back in session and no action was taken. So we are moving on to the consent agenda. Russ, you are up.
Oh, boy.
I'm going to home, I gotta go.
I'm timing you, Russ.
Andy always closes at 9, and I'm calling in that order, so.
Okay. Consent agenda. Act on appointments, designations, and authorizations. Deputy Board Clerk, Darcy Bacon. Food Service Authorized Representative and Determining Official for Free and Reduced Price Meal Applications, Kelly Adams. Federal Programs and Projects Representative, Ann Shinliver. Truancy Reporters, all school building administrators. Coordinator for Homeless Children, Dr. Jen Kern. Capers Representative, Stephanie Lawrence. Freedom of Information Officer, Adam Hatfield. Federal Anti-Discrimination Compliance Officer, Tira Lemire. Official newspaper for legal publications, the Wellington Daily News. Official depository for school district funds pursuant to KSA 9-1401, Impact Bank. Authorized the board clerk pursuant to KSA 12-105B, parentheses E, to pay claims as needed in advance of the regular board meeting in order for the district to benefit from discounts. Authorize application for and utilization of funds from Title I, Title II, vocational grants, Eisenhower Math and Science grants, and food service programs, free and reduced meals. Adopt the hourly required school year as follows. Kindergarten through grade 11, 1,116 hours. Grade 12, 1,086 hours. Adopt the state mileage rate of 58.5 cents per mile, KSA 75-3203A. Approve membership in the KASB Legal Assistance Fund, $2,300. Approve membership to Kansas Association of School Boards, $11,145.64. Adopt guidelines for activity funds and gate receipts according to KSA 72-8208A. Approve out-of-state travel for administration to national conferences as approved by the superintendent. These will be put in consent agenda if approved. Approve meal prices for the 2023-24 school year. Elementary breakfast, $1.60. Middle school breakfast, $1.60. High school breakfast, $1.60. Adult breakfast, $2.60. Elementary lunch, $2.80. Middle school lunch, $3. High school lunch, $3.25. Adult lunch, $4.15. Reduced breakfast, 30 cents. Reduced lunch, 40 cents. There are no increase in student lunch prices. Only increase will be adult breakfast and lunch prices. Appoint Martin Peck as district's legal counsel. Appoint Jared Brown as district treasurer. Resolutions. Act on resolutions authorizing petty cash and activity funds for administrative offices as presented pursuant to KSA 72-1177 and KSA 72-1178. Petty cash fund amounts. Superintendent's revolving, $1,000. High school, $1,500. Middle school, $1,500. Special education, $500. Act on Resolution 23-01, authorizing a petty cash fund for Superintendent's revolving fund. Act on resolution 23-02, authorizing a petty cash fund for the high school. Act on resolution 23-03, authorizing a petty cash fund for the middle school. Act on resolution 23-04, authorizing a petty cash fund for special education. Act on resolution 23-06, authorizing activity funds for the high school. Act on resolution 23-07, authorizing activity funds for the middle school. Act on resolution 23-08, authorizing activity funds for Lincoln Elementary. Act on resolution 23-09, authorizing activity funds for Eisenhower Elementary. Act on resolution 23-10, authorizing activity funds for Kennedy Elementary. Act on resolution 23-11, authorizing activity funds for Washington Elementary. Act on resolution 23-12 to establish Board of Education meeting dates, times, and location. Regular meetings shall be the second Monday of each month at the district office at 6 p.m. Act on resolution 23-13 to establish home rule by Board of Education. Act on resolution 23-14 to rescind policy statements from the previous year. Act on resolution 23-15 to waive generally accepted accounting principles, GAAP. Approve the minutes of the June 12th meeting. Approve payroll and bills. Payroll, $2,476,579.83. Bills, $400,236.98. Personnel, approved new hires. Chad Whaley, special education teacher at the middle school. Lori Schmidt, special education teacher at the middle school. Jamie Rader, night lead custodian at the high school. Matthew Mason, head powerlifting coach, high school. Jacqueline Latimer, secretary at the middle school. Michael Mandarino, 8th grade ELA, middle school. Sarah Howard, 5th grade teacher, Kennedy. Heather Daniel, night custodian at the high school. Kylie Penninger, 5th grade / long-term sub, Kennedy. Eric Rasmussen, night custodian at the high school. Approve resignations. Shelley Seals, functional room para at the high school. Randy Hodges, custodian at the high school. And approve transfers and position changes. Beverly Sellers, Kennedy 5th grade teacher to 7th grade ELA at middle school. And Tiffin Meyer, Kennedy 4th grade teacher to 8th grade math teacher at the middle school.
Good job, Russ.
Thank you.
Did you repeat 7.2?
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda provided to us tonight.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same.
No, just for one reason.
Okay. If there's no other business, we are adjourned.
Thank you very much.